Summer Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. All right, now, let's talk a little bit of Canelo Alvarez and Jermell Charlo about to fight this weekend. We know that's the biggest fight of the weekend, and we all, we're pretty hyped about it. We know that Jermell Charlo's going up 2 weight divisions, but it's still going to be a good fight. And when Canelo's in a competitive fight, we've seen worse. We had to deal with the Yildirims and stuff like that before. So, it is what it is. Now, we happy about that. But I was reading an article, and it hit me, the article was like, Canelo Alvarez's best run was his run to undisputed at 168 pounds, right, of his career. And I'm like, wow, his best run. Because that was the run, with Callum Smith, right, getting that title. Billy Joe Saunders going to get that title and going over here to Callum Plant. So that's a pretty good run. Callum Smith had won the Super 6 tournament, right, at that 168-pound division. You got to give him that, right? He had won that, so that's something. And then Billy Joe Saunders is still undefeated, right? The elusive fighter, still undefeated, and then going there to fight Callum Plant, who was definitely elusive and a good fighter. So that's a pretty damn good run, right? But it's road to undisputed. And here's where, I have a few things that you would have to note that they don't, pretty much. One is Canelo did not have to fight for the WBC title. That title was given to him from the WBC, just given to him. When he fought Callum Smith for the WBA, they gave him the title for the WBC, which was not necessary because you had David Benavidez there, who was probably a champion in recess, or you're just taking the title for him, so he was, he should be able to get a title shot, whatever, with the next guy for a vacant title, or whatever. But David Benavidez was there, he's the lineal champ. So there was no reason to just give Canelo that title. They should have made him fight those other 3 guys, but you have to fight to get the 4th belt. But he was given to him. And I don't know if you guys think that's fair, but it's just not, right? So, but the WBC just gave him that title. Now, when Canelo was down at 160, the WBC, instead of letting Jermell Charlo fight Canelo after 3 interim fights, they come up with the franchise title, which means Jermell doesn't get an opportunity to fight Canelo. We give Jermell that belt, and then we call it nothing. Then we give Canelo this new franchise belt, and we exalt him higher than everyone, and he doesn't have to fight Jermell Charlo. Then he goes up to 168, right? Because he doesn't want to fight at 168 pounds for undisputed with Andrade or the Jermell Charlo. So he has a franchise title, and he goes up to 168. After receiving the franchise title, they give him the title at a weight class higher. Now, I mentioned those fighters that he fought, but down there at 160, his mandatory was Jermell Charlo, right? When Jermell Charlo was Jermell Charlo. You ain't trying to mess with that. And then undisputed with Demetrius Andrade. Those were the fights. So, yeah, I go up to the other division, which we can, in unison, agree upon that the super middleweight division was easier, right? So that his run to undisputed 168 pounds, it was pretty good, but there's some old glaring omissions there. You know what I'm saying? Glaring omissions. And the fact that we was talking about a couple of years ago, and you still have David Benavidez not fought, and you still have David Morrell not fought. And the WBA is trying to get rid of all their extra belts. They have a regular champion in David Morrell for 2 years, and they haven't told Canelo he's got to do it, right? All them other ones do. Just saying. And WBC gave him that belt after the franchise title. You got to note those things. Regardless, you have to. Whether you're a Canelo fan or not, why the hell? Fight for undisputed. Because actually, he was 1 belt from undisputed at the 160-pound division, the middleweight division, the glamour division. And I'm repeating myself, but that's important to note. He didn't do that. Instead of doing that, he went up to fight Kovalev 2 weight divisions higher, and then he went and did the 168-pound thing, which was not necessary because you had 1 fight in Demetrius Andrade. So the problem is, do I fight Demetrius Andrade after what had just happened to me with Lara, right? And that brings me to the other thing about Canelo. how the hell do we pinpoint Canelo's prime? You know, because we're hearing a little bit about Canelo's might be a little bit, past it, right? It might be past his prime and on the downside. He's 33 years old. He's had a lot of fights. But so what we got to pinpoint his prime, though. Because they said within his prime, he would have done this and then he would have done that. And we've been here for his prime, I think, right? Because he's 33 now. So we have to go with, at 23, he was too young. I think that's what the whole narrative has been, right? So we got to agree the 23-year-old Canelo wasn't his prime, was it? Because that's when he fought Mayweather and got whitewashed. So he can't say that's the prime. Now, we would like to say that was his prime because he had a win over Austin Trout before the Mayweather fight, right? José Lopez and Shane Mosley, right? Stuff like that. That's before Mayweather now. So you're looking at that, but that you can't call that his prime, those wins over Austin Trout. Now, I got something against that Austin Trout win anyway because that was open scoring in San Antonio. And open scoring is just simple. After the 4th round and the 8th round, they tell you what the score is. Now, if you Austin Trout and you think in them first 4 rounds that you at least won 2 of them and they tell you after round 4 you ain't won none, what do you have to do? Change your whole tactics and then you're going to get caught. That's why he did the stinky leg, because they had told him he ain't won no rounds, and you watch the first 4 and tell me Trout didn't win any. So that's the kind of stuff that went on there. So I kind of got my little thing about that fight against Austin Trout, but he got a win. But so when is his prime? You know, a couple of fights after Floyd Mayweather, you had Aristotle Lara. We can't really call that his prime. I mean, because, actually he lost that fight to Lara. It was a split decision. If you got a split decision with Canelo, right? If you got a split decision with Canelo, you know damn well what that means. You know what I'm saying? So, he had the Austin Trout fight. So I don't know when is his prime, because I don't know if we want to call the Mika Cotto Amir Khan fights his prime, but maybe we will, because there he's probably 25, 26, and then he's winning the title against Leon Smith, but fighting Leon Smith instead of Demetrius Andrade, who had the title before. So was that his prime, right? Do we call, what do we call his wins in the wins over Callum Smith and Billy Joe Saunders and them his prime? So my point is, somebody pinpoint the damn prime so we can, dissect it a little bit. Because my point is, Canelo's been good. The Gennady Golovkin fights, was that his prime? The first Gennady Golovkin fight, that was his prime, because in his prime, he had some trouble, right? Ain't no distance there. He actually lost that one. The second fight, if he did what he did was stood in front of Gennady Golovkin, and Gennady Golovkin was over here selling wolf tickets about Mexican style, and Canelo stood in front of him, right? Didn't beat him, but he stood in front of him, and he showed his head movement and all that he could fight in front of Gennady Golovkin, which was awesome to watch, but it still didn't give him enough points to win the fight, right? But he was looking awesome, because I was like, go ahead on Canelo, what's up, and he did his thing, but he didn't really win the fight. But he got the fight, he got the nod, of course. But if you really look at it, that was bogus. But okay, so the Gennady Golovkin fights, which didn't look so impressive. I mean, he was just in them. He didn't dominate those. So I don't know if that's the prime. So somebody got to, holla. When was the damn prime? Because there wasn't too much distance in his fights against a lot of these guys, right? And we don't want to call Amir Khan and Cotto the prime because he was outweighing these guys. I don't know, You see what I'm saying? So there's not so much separation in the Canelo fights. I don't know if we want to call him over the hill yet, because we don't know when he was at the top of the hill. What happened was, you guys put him on the top of the hill, right? And, that's what happened, right? And there's too many fighters out there that are right in his division right now and years. Look at these fighters. Demetrius Andrade, we know he's ridiculous. Jamal Charlo, silly. Actually, Jamel too, but now Jamel's fighting him when they was around the same weight. But okay, those fighters right there in the same division with championship belts. And now you got the same thing. David Benavidez and Dave Morrell right in the division. And ain't nobody asking them to fight. You see what I'm saying? So whatever. So my point is simply, Canelo's prime is really hard to pinpoint. It really the hell is. And yeah, well, let's just see what happens this weekend with the fight. It don't matter, but Canelo, he's a good fighter and all that. But when they start talking about that prime and stuff, you really can't pinpoint it. Here we go. Nova Sports Talk. Worldwide. And I'm up out of here, y'all.